Hey guys, welcome to Bar Z. My name's Stan, and today we're in front of the hardness tester. And again, we've got some squares. These have been hardened, and you can see they've been tempered. Tell by the pretty purpley blue color. So I want you to notice I want you to see if you can tell what's wrong with these squares. Take a good look at this side. I'll flip them over. Take a look at that. Anything missing? Yeah, I forgot to monogram a batch of these things. And these squares are actually harder than my than my lettering stamp, so I'll destroy my stamp getting the monograms on these. And it's not just this pair, it's an entire batch. So bozo move. But what I want to do, first we're going to check, see just how hard these things really are. These should be up in the low 60s, high 50s. So where we ended up here. Yeah, she's coming in at 58. And let's see where this little fella comes in at. Same thing. So I got a whole batch of these that are pretty hard. My stamp, my lettering stamp is about 55-ish, 54, 55. I've already checked hardness on that. So if we're going to play a game of rock, paper, scissors, squares win, and I'll destroy my stamp. So we're going to anneal these so I can put the pockets in them. I do a 20 thousandths pocket for the stamp and do all the stamping, and then we're going to reharden them. But I'm going to use the new controller for the Hotshot, and we're going to create a profile. Let's go over to the board, draw the profile we want for annealing, and we're going to follow the instructions that I found online for annealing for all the times and temperatures. We're going to draw a chart. We're going to plug them into the computer, and we're going to flash program the temperature controller. I'm going to show you how to do that. All right, so let's get started. Let's go over to the board and draw our temperature profile. Okay, we're over to the whiteboard, and I've got a cheat sheet here that I'm going to be using, just so I remember all my times and temps. And we're going to be doing, we're going to start with our baseline right here. Oh, I'm going to try to squeeze in there without knocking the camera around. And we're just going to call our baseline 100 degrees Fahrenheit. We have to ramp up at a rate of 400 degrees per hour. So from 100, and we have to hit 1450. And we want this time to take 400 degrees per hour is our rate, so that comes out to 202 minutes. Next up, we want to hold that, and they said minimum 2 hours, so we're going to hold 1450 for 2 hours, which is 120 minutes. And then we're going to cool it. This is 1450 as well. And then we're going to cool back down at a rate not exceeding 50 degrees per hour. So that equates to 540 minutes. So that's a long, slow cool down until we get to 1,000. So there's 1,000 F right there. These are all Fahrenheit. So that's our ramp up, our soak, and actually a cool down, a controlled cool down. And what we're going to do, we're going to go ahead and play with the alarm. I'm going to hold the 1,000. This one's going to, both of these are going to be set for 1,000 degrees. Here, both of these set points, this is only 1 minute, but we are going to enable the A1 alarm. So at the end of our cool down cycle, as soon as we're coming up on 1,000, we're gonna hit A1 on the temp controller and sound the alarm. So this is set point 0, time 1, temperature 1. Time 2, temperature 2. Time 3, temperature 3. Time 4, temperature 4. And after that, we put in 0 values, so the oven's just going to shut down at the end of the cycle. Okay, so we're going to recreate that profile. I would like to mention that I got this profile online at hudsontoolsteel.com. Lots of good information on there about hardening, annealing, when to temper, how to temper, what temperatures for everything. A lot of good info on there. So HudsonToolsteel.com was my go-to source to get all these values. So let's fire up the laptop and plug in our controller and get these things annealed. Okay, we're over here at the laptop. I just popped my controller out. No tools required. Just slip it out of there. We're going to plug into the mini. Got a mini USB there. Plug it in the right way. All right. We're powered up. And we've got confirmation that we're connected. So we've got a comm there. And now we're going to go to our end config software. And let's see, we're going to do a batch configuration. I've already pre-written the program, so we're going to go to batch configuration. So right now we're going to basically hook the device and make sure we're hooked up to it. So that's a temperature controller in 480D. And now we're going to hit batch. And off of this, it's going to ask which one we want to use. And here's the one I've already pre-written. It's called annealing 01 config. So we're going to select annealing and hit open and maximize here. All right, now we're going to go down. Let's start with the temperatures, which is our SPs. Our SP01 is 100 degrees, is what we wanted. So set point 0 is 100, set point 1 is 1450, set point 2 is 1450, set point 3 is 1000, set point 4 is 1000. Let's go do our times. Here's the times. So our first time, this is all expressed in minutes. If you recall, we wanted 202 minutes to ramp up. So it's going to take 202 minutes to go from 100 to 1450. Our next one is our soak, which we want to hold 1450 for 120 minutes. And the next is our ramp down. We want 540 minutes for the ramp down to 1000. And then our alarm segment is just set for 1 minute. And our alarms, let's check our alarms. Let's see. Event 1 is off. Event 2, I don't know why that's on, but we'll turn it off. Okay. Event 3 is off. And now we have an A1 alarm on segment 4. So first segment is ramp up. Second segment is soak. Third segment is ramp down. And then we created a small alarm segment, a 1 minute segment. So the alarm will only sound for 1 minute. All right. So we're ready to write to the device. So let's hit write. And it just wants me to tell it how many devices I'm programming. And would you like to apply the configuration to another device? No. All right, so we are programmed and we're set for annealing. So we're going to unplug here and go plug it into the oven and see how she behaves. Okay, well I got a batch in there. That's 6 pairs of squares that I blew it on. None of those are monogrammed. So we're closing up. And we're going to go ahead and bring up control power. And I want to make sure it's running right before I hit heat enable. And let's go to here. I've already started the program. All right. All right, let's start our run. We're going to hit, we're going to go to program, yes. We're going to go to run, yes, and go. Now, if it's working correctly, we should see this, yeah, the green display is slowly changing. It's ramping up. So I'm going to go ahead and enable heat and let her start coming up, and let her follow that profile. It'll climb from 59 to 100 in no time. So these low temperatures aren't going to affect the annealing. So we're going to follow the profile that we created and let her go to 1450, soak for a while. And then according to what I programmed in there, we should see an A1 alarm at the end of the entire cycle. Now I don't have an audible alarm set up on this, but I did get some to include with the production Hotshots. It's an 80 decibel alarm horn with a light to let you know your cycle is completed. So that's kind of neat. So let's let this thing run and see how soft we can get these things. I'll bring you back after they were all softened up, hopefully, and we'll put them over on the hardness tester and see if they're machinable, and see if we can get our monogram on there. That's the most important thing. All right. Okay, well, it's working its way up. Like my mother always said, a watch pot never boils, so I'm not going to hover over it. But she's ramping up. It's only at 195 on its way to 1450. All right, over a 202-minute segment. In case you're wondering what the alarms look like, I got a box of them here. These are the alarms. That's an 80 decibel alarm with a little red LED. Fits in a 22 millimeter hole, simple. And we're just going to plug those in right out here in front. We're going to plug in out there, and you'll just get an audible alarm if you feel like it. You know, if you set your A1 alarm, it'll be wired to A1. So if you set your A1 alarm, you'll get a notification for end of cycle. All right, we're running along at 1450 now, and it's going to run here for 2 hours. Then start ramping down slowly at our 500 some minute cool down. So it'll be a very slow descent. I'm getting ready to close up the shop for the night, so we're going to come back tomorrow and see what this is, see how soft these things got, see if our little controller did what it was supposed to do, and see if we soften these things up where they're machinable. So we'll see you tomorrow. I'm going to turn out the lights and see what tomorrow brings. Okay, well, I went inside, I had dinner, and I packaged up all my Black Friday stuff and got it all labeled and ready to ship. And I thought I'd pop out here and take a look at this. It's about 8:30 in the evening, and as you can see, we're on our way down with the temperature controller. We've gone to our 1450, we've soaked, and now it's doing a very slow, very controlled ramp down. So, yeah, it's getting there. But I'm just going to let it run all night. Let the controller do its controlling and see how everything goes. And I'll check back with you guys in the morning, and we'll do some hardness tests. Okay, well, tomorrow is now today. And you see our controller is parked at 1,000. So it ramped back down. If you remember our profile, 1,000 degrees was our last set point in the last segment. And it removed the run command after that because we only had, what, 1, 2, 3. We had 4 segments, and this thing's capable of 9. But as soon as you put in a 0 value, it'll just park there and remove the run command. You see we have no run light over here now. But we can go ahead and pull one of these. Even after a cold night, there's still 150 inside the oven. They're pretty scaly, pretty rough. I'm not going to get a good reading with my hardness gauge. I'm going to give them a quick polish with some Scotch-Brite and just take them to the sink and kind of give them a polish on this. We'll see how soft they got. And what else we can do? We can go ahead and shut down. And we'll go ahead and pull the controller and set it up for rehardening. All right. Okay, we got our squares cleaned. All that scaly stuff taken off so we get a good reading. And remember, the hardness tester has a stop collar on there. There's a little ring and with a diamond penetrator, and the stop collar has to sit down flat. So, and I've already done one test. I don't even know whether you can see it right at the tip of my finger. You can see a little dot, but you can also see the raised spot. I'm going to try to tip it. That'll give you some clue there how soft these are. See the size of that little raised spot right there? I can actually feel it with my finger. All right, and maybe I'll use the macro lens and try to get in there and let you see that raised spot. But I will remind you that we are calibrated. This is a 60 Rockwell block, a calibrated 60 RC. And it goes around once, twice, third time to the reading. So 2 full revs and then to the reading, right on 60. And here is our test subject. We get that to sit down flat maybe there. And we're going to go around once, twice. It didn't even make it around twice. It's off of C scale. I think C scale starts around 20. So it didn't even make C scale. So it's actually in a B scale. That crunch you heard was the back side. I didn't clean the back of the unit. And here's the other one. You can hear it kind of crunching around on my little pallet there. I'm just using a 1, 2, 3 block to hold it. So we're going to go 1, and it won't even make 2 revs. So these things are butter soft. All right, so we can monogram these no problem. Just for the heck of it, this is as purchased 01. This is just a little piece of scrap. And we can test that for hardness. And we actually got softer than when you buy it. There's 1 rev, 2 revs, and it comes in just under 20, about 18 hardness is what the 01 is. So we're the ones that we annealed are below the 0 mark here. It won't even make 2 full revs on the gauge. Now that we've done all our tests, we're going to go back to our test block, and that's 1, 2, and then a reading. So that's 2 full revolutions and then a reading up to, and that's a 60 RC block right there, test block. So we checked our calibration with that 60.8 calibrated block. All right. So amazing results. You know how I used to do this? I used to do it with, I used to put them in barbecue coals in a little Weber kettle grill and put them down in the coals, let them get red hot, close it all up, and just let the fire go out by itself and let it slowly ramp down. No control whatsoever. You got no idea what's going to happen. And my parts would get soft. But you know what? Every time you want to anneal something, you don't want to have to fire up the barbecue. You know what? Maybe you're not cooking anything and you're doing it just for a pair of squares and you're wasting a bunch of charcoal and all that. But that's pretty cool. So the annealing works, and I never had a ramp soak controller on my personal oven before, so I'm really pleased with these results. All right, but I got a whole batch that we can monogram. Let's put our controller back the way it was. We're going to switch it from the annealing program back over to the hardening program and put it back the way it was so we don't accidentally try to heat treat something with an annealing cycle. Okay, before we put it back, I'm going to remind you what we did. We started off with 100 degrees, that's set point 0. We did 202-minute ramp up to 1450. That's our second set point. Then we went 120 minutes to our third set point, which was 1450 again, so no change. And then we did 540 minutes all the way down to 1,000. And then we put in a 1-minute segment for A1. So 1,000 to 1,000, 1 minute. After that, we put in null values, and which basically just turned the controller off. So that is the ramp soak. It's easy to get lost in those menus. It's really easy if you do a little cheat sheet like this, just so you've got a reminder as you're doing your programming. You know, that way you don't get lost in the menus. It's easy to forget a time or whatever, and it's easy to screw it up. So this is highly recommended. Let's plug in our little controller. USB mini right there. And there we're still on 1,000. It remembers everything it had before. It's got an internal battery and an internal memory. All right, but we're going to flash program this turkey. We're going to go to our in-config software. And let's just go search and configure. I want to see how it's programmed right now, or I want you to see how it's programmed right now. And we're going to go to configure. It's already hooked the unit. This is my unit right here. Here's the description of it. So we're going to hit configure. We're going to maximize. And let me zoom you out just a tad. I'm hoping you can still see what I'm doing on the screen there. There we go. All right, we're all maximized. The only thing that changed here are the RNS programs, which is ramp and soak. Let's see what we got under RNS. PSP1, yep. Okay, so right here is PSP or PSP0. I'm sorry, it's 100 degrees. There's our PT1, which is our time. That's 202 minutes. Event is off. PSP1, which is our set point, is 1450. PT2 is our second time. That's 120 minutes. The event, no alarm. Event is off. Set point 2 is 1450. Time 3 is 540 minutes. Event 3 is off. And set point 3 is 1000. Now, we did add a feature for the alarm, which we weren't even awake when the alarm went off. So I have tested it before and it does work. PT4 is your time, 1 minute. And then PE4 is A1. That's instead of off. All these other values up here were all off, but this A1 is when we triggered the A1 alarm, and if we had an alarm bell or an alarm light hooked up to it, then it would sound. And then my last value was 1000. And then when you get down to PT5 on this line, you see right here we got a 0 value. So the 0 value basically stops the controller. It won't continue through the cycles. But if you look here, we have, let me scroll down a little bit. Yeah, we got all the way up to 9 segments. So there's 9, steps to the stair or ramps or whatever you want to do. So there's 9 there. Another thing you can do is the very last value. It's called RPTP. That's the last value in the menu, and it's right now it's set for no, but I'm going to show you what you can set it for. You can set it for yes, and what it's going to do, it's going to repeat the cycle. After you've got to 9, after you've got to segment 9 and that one times out, if you hit yes, it's going to take you all the way back to the beginning and just repeat the process. For people that need to do temperature cycling for maybe normalizing some cast iron where it has to go through a lot of hot cold cycles to let the cast iron relax, it is capable of more than 9 segments as long as you don't mind repeating the same profile over again. All right, anyways, enough of that. We've configured, let's go to batch. Current configuration, we want to save it? No. Now we're going to come to another pre-configured, which is heat treat 01 config. Open. Okay. Now here's all our, we're going to write to it. And it's going to confirm the address. This is number 1. Okay. Okay, we're writing to our little controller. Enough of me talking. Let's just get this done. And then it asks, would you like to configure another device? No. Now we can go to configure and see what numbers it plugged in there. Let's go to ramp and soak. And now we've got, let's see, we've got 100 degrees start, 210. Now we've got 210 degrees or 210 minutes ramp up. Now we're going to 1500 for 60 minutes. Second set point is 1500. And then a 1 minute alarm, again at 1500. And then a 0 value. So that is my 01 tool steel. It takes me from 100 degrees to 1500 degrees in 210 minutes. It soaks for an hour, and then it sets off an alarm for 1 minute saying, hey, come quench your parts. This is just for heat treating, not for annealing. So this is everything we need to put it back put our tools back the way they were. After I get them monogrammed, we can reharden them. All right. Okay guys, I hope you enjoyed the ramp soak tutorial. This is mainly for Hotshot users that ordered the ramp and soak, but you know, anyone can find this useful. Another thing I wanted to mention is you can share these files. The way I'm saving it in the laptop, all these profiles that I've created and I saved, you know, just save them at, you know, name the file O1 hardening or O1 annealing or A2 or whatever steel you're working with, and create your profile. After you know it works, save it, and you can Dropbox it to your friends or to somebody else, or make it public, or whatever you want to do. But it's actually pretty cool that you can create profiles and save them and just flash them into the controller. There are more, you know, extravagant ways to do that little oven. You know, you could put a Wallow T4 on it, but then you're hanging an $1,800 controller on a you know, on an $800 oven, which is not as silly to me, but it could be done. All right. I appreciate you guys watching. Thanks again.